Alrighty, so the Overlord Collab comes out in a couple of days on Global. It comes out on Tuesday. If you're unaware, that's when we normally get updates. We're about 5 days behind the JP schedule. So, I've been kind of prepping a little bit. This is probably the first collab in a while that I'm like probably really under prepared for. Not really sure why I didn't pay too much attention to the sort of like rough schedule that we have going each year. But yeah, I'm kind of low on Super Awakening coins and everything, but I'm sure there will be a decent amount in the events and everything like that. But I wanted to talk about the gear a little bit of the new characters because I've been watching content from the JP YouTubers and everything. I consider myself to just be some normal dude who just plays the game. So if you are watching other, JP content creators or anything, getting a feel for like what kind of gear you think would be good on some of these characters, feel free to let me know because I might take it into consideration for sure. But overall, it feels like I definitely thought everybody was going to be more of like an HP defense kind of thing, but it really seems like a lot more variety than I was maybe anticipating. So if you don't know me, I typically do the first 4 characters in my box. I will sort of like use those characters to hold gear sets that I'm sort of like working on currently, and I normally do 2 HP defense and then 2 attack crit damage sets, but I might end up having to build a whole separate set at the moment, so a little bit low on gear stuff too, so it'll probably be a couple of days or maybe even like a week or 2 before I can even get everything sorted out. But Ainz so far looks like he's actually not going to be nearly as good as maybe we were anticipating. He definitely seems like a character that would benefit from just having HP defense. He's kind of like Hell in the way that you kind of just want him on the field getting his passive off and everything, so that way you can sort of take advantage of it when you get the opportunity, but you're kind of just using his passive, which if you don't know, he basically puts on these stacks that I think reduces damage dealt, so it makes the enemy like not be able to hurt you nearly as much. It works a lot like Estarossa, where you attack an enemy and it puts a stack on them, so AoEs can be very beneficial and everything, and then once you reach 5 stacks with the character, it's 4 stacks, you hit them with a single target from Ainz specifically, and then it will apply a red debuff that will kill the enemy on the end of their next turn. So it's like a 3-turn combo. It's a little slower than maybe you would kind of want it to be, I guess. But typically in this meta, things are a little bit more sped up. You can normally kill a character off turn 1, depending on how strong your team is, or like, the team orientation that you've got going on. But yeah, he's a little bit slow, so he, I think, inherently is becoming one of the lower end of the collab, unfortunately, which he is the main character, so that kind of sucks to see, but everybody's pretty much interested in Albedo anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. People seem to be pretty happy so far, but yeah, I think Ainz just existing on the field, kind of like Hell does, is going to be pretty beneficial. So I think going for an HP defense just to make sure that he survives. You're not really looking for him to do anything super crazy. Obviously, his single target attack does do, I think it's just more damage depending on how many stacks of his passive they have on. So if they have 4 stacks or whatever, I want to say it's 40% more damage dealt per stack. I could be wrong on that. I'm still kind of getting used to these new characters and everything, and since they're not out on Global yet, I don't have time to, I can't actually put my hands on them or anything, so I'm sure I'll get more acquainted with them and everything once they drop. But Ainz definitely seems like a character that you're not going to have to worry too much about, actually dealing damage. You're kind of just putting the debuffs on and everything, kind of supporting your overall team. So Albedo, on the other hand, is a very interesting one. I originally thought that I was just going to give her an HP defense set as well, because she has this stance and everything. But if you don't know, her stance actually has Amplify on it as well, which is just absolutely insane. I never thought that I would see the day where they would make a counter stance that has a skill effect on it, but I guess it was bound to happen eventually as, the years go on and the characters sort of like inherently get power crept and everything like that. It was bound to happen. So her counter having Amplify is pretty insane in general, so I originally was just going to go HP defense, so that way when they attacked into her and everything, she could just survive more, and then you could rely on your other teammates to sort of deal the damage. And I definitely think that you could do that. I don't think that HP defense would necessarily be bad on her, plus it's going to give you more CC and everything. And it doesn't really seem like the Overlord collab characters are inherently wanting to go second. They've sort of made a couple of teams recently where like going second is very beneficial, you know, namely the Demon team, and normally the Unknown team in general doesn't have the best CC, so a lot of people will run evasion food and stuff like that on them anyway, and just end up going second because, you know, the Sins team is still going to be pretty relevant, I think, which is going to probably be the highest CC team on the market. Humans might end up still being pretty relevant as well, and they're probably going to out-CC you, but it seems like if you can go first with the Overlord collab characters, it can be pretty beneficial, so if you wanted to go HP defense just to try to go first, I guess you could, but after watching Nagato's video, he actually made her an attack crit defense set, which is very cool. Actually, I think that's the one that I might end up going for, mainly because I think she's going to be a character that could be really useful for Heroes Arena. So the attack is obviously going to give her a little bit more damage dealt whenever you do end up, you know, hitting the counter, which is going to be great. And then the crit defense pieces, which I have a bunch of them built, so that way I can throw them on Heroes Arena characters and stuff like that whenever I do play Heroes Arena. But if I just already have her with UARD, you know, crit defense pieces with crit defense rolls on them, she just inherently becomes way tankier, and the counter should end up doing a really good amount of damage in general. So I actually really like the idea of that. Obviously, I'm not super committed to it or anything. If you have any sort of other interesting sets that you think that Albedo could really like benefit from, I know some people in the stream, whenever we were watching them sort of unveil the characters, some people were saying that like a recovery rate set could be very good because you're probably going to end up throwing Tarmio Link on her anyway, and you know, she'll just gain more, you know, HP back whenever the Tarmio Link pops, which that could be just so hard to deal with. So that one could be kind of interesting as well. I'm not normally a big fan of those sets personally, just because I feel like they're kind of like, it's a little bit of a gimmick, and I feel like for the application of like Heroes Arena, for example, if I'm going second and they're going to obliterate me, I feel like that set might not help me nearly as much. Plus, I won't be able to use links, and Tarmio Link won't even be able to sort of proc. So not as apt to make that one, maybe. It could be like a fun, interesting sort of like side set, or like a PvE only set or something like that, but normally for collab characters, I don't really like making multiple sets. The only characters that I even have multiple sets for is Aaron, and it's because we actually have 2 different Aarons in the game. Actually, we have 3, so very few times do we actually get an extra character in a collab that's already in the game. So I don't typically like making multiple sets for a character. I typically just try to go for whatever is most relevant for them. So I probably will only go with one set. Right now, definitely leaning towards that attack crit defense one, which is very interesting. I think it works pretty well so far, at least from what I've seen. I haven't really been able to tell what... I tried to watch Sora's video on Albedo earlier, and he doesn't really show his gear off or anything like that, so I'm not 100% sure what he's using. I can only assume that some people are either just going to go attack crit damage to try to get as much damage as possible, or maybe they're going just HP defense to make her tank, and then you get just a little bit of damage off with the counters, which the counters, man, I mean, depending on, you know, if you have the Nanashi link, or the Nanashi buffs on and everything, it seems like they're the counters are going to hit really hard, depending on a couple of different factors anyway. So, I mean, the gear might not be like the overall make or break scenario, but I definitely think that if you're going for a specific play style, maybe the gear might be, you know, you might be leaning one way or the other on the gear. The other character is Shalltear, and I think that Shalltear, so far, I've only really seen people make attack crit damage sets for her, which I think is pretty fair. She has this gimmick where she goes into this like frenzy mode if you get 3 stacks of her passive on, and it basically increases her attack related stats by 50% for 1 turn, and it lowers her defense related stats by 30% for 1 turn. So she becomes like this really glass cannon character where she's going to do a lot of damage, but she could also get killed pretty easily. And I think that it probably is best to go attack crit damage. That's the only set that I see people using on her. But then again, I guess if you're just going to get that huge attack-related stat increase, you're basically just going to, you know, go all in, try to one-shot a character or something like that, or depending on how many cards you have in hand, I guess. Just try to, you know, do as much damage as you possibly can while she's got Frenzy active, which I think is really cool. So definitely think that that could be pretty cool. And then on the other hand, you have Cocytus. Cocytus is not, you know, PvP usable, and he can't be used in demonic beasts or anything like that. And typically for PvE characters, I'm not worried about CC or anything like that, so I'll probably just go with like an attack crit damage set for him or something like that. So because I'm going to end up using more attack pieces than I originally thought, I'll probably have to build a little bit more. But yeah, definitely want to do... I'm planning on doing an attack crit damage set for Cocytus and for Shalltear, and then so far, I think I'm going to go for the attack crit defense pieces and stuff for Albedo. Maybe I'll go HP defense. I'm not 100% convinced just yet. I mean, if you have any ideas or anything, let me know. And then for Ainz, I think that HP defense is just pretty fine. Like, I don't think you're really expecting him to do a whole lot of damage. He's very dependent on ult levels as well, if you're not aware, which is probably going to be a bit of a nuisance if you don't know the stacks that you put on the enemy that make them do less damage. It scales terribly. I think 1 through 3/6 is like... I think it's like a 2% reduction or something like that. So, like, if you have 4 stacks on them, they're going to be doing 8% less damage. Whereas if you have it at 6/6, I want to say it's like 6% reduction per stack. So it goes up to like 20-something%. I can't remember exactly what the overall numbers for it are. But, yeah, he's got one of those stupid passives where it scales off of ult levels, which I'm not a fan of. But it is what it is. I guess if you end up getting extra copies of Ainz, that'll definitely help out. But... overall, I think people are really looking for Albedo. So, yeah, definitely let me know what you guys are planning on building for some of your characters. I don't really do... I mean, like, I play geared PvP and everything like that, but I guess most of these characters might end up getting use in, like, Heroes Arena or something nowadays, so that could be definitely something that you kind of have to take into consideration when you're building gear for modern characters. So, not looking forward to seeing them get used in Heroes Arena on the enemy team, because I'm sure that's going to be really obnoxious and annoying, but that's pretty much it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any sort of interesting ideas or, you know, thoughts or opinions on the characters or anything like that, and I will see you guys later on. So definitely, if you're around for live summons whenever the banner goes live on Global, we'll definitely be doing some summons and everything like that, testing out some of the characters. Like I said, I'm a little bit low on materials, so I'll try to probably go for Albedo day 1, and depending on how many relics we can get, I'll probably try to do... Albedo and Shalltear, and as I get more materials and everything, I'll probably invest into Ainz, and then because Cocytus is just a PvE character, I'm not as worried about leveling him up right this moment, but I'll definitely be upgrading him later on. So yeah, feel free to subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and yeah, see you next time.